Right, this is another top 5. Welcome to this video. This is my 5 most influential bands of all time. So when I was growing up I was born in the 70s, but when I was growing up in the 80s, my sort of big brother, he was like a big brother to me. He's a guy that, kind of a family friend, and he gave me his sister's collection of Adamant singles. So I started listening to them. My first CD that I got, by the way, probably 89, 90, was Madness. They're not on this list, but it's worth mentioning. But Adam and the Ants were very big in the 1980s, and there's one song that I really loved listening to, as well as Stand and Deliver and all these other ones. There's a B-side called Beat Me, and it's really, really good. It's I think the drums, and obviously that band are known for playing the drums. Really interesting. Kings of the Wild Frontier, all these tracks they did. Beat My Guest was a favourite B-side. Very punkish, for the time. I always enjoyed 70s music. I always enjoyed sort of bluegrass music as well from the States. You can't really sort of zoom into a favourite band that's kind of influenced me, but when I was listening to that music when I was about 9 years old, something like that, 8, 9, 10 years old, I thought I would have a band just like that, paint my face the same way as Adamant did. I would have like a band just like that when I grew up. That was my kind of ambition. So yeah, Adam and the Ants. I know they were quite well known in the US as well, and all that stuff. I think he was in the Howard Stern show a few times as well. So they're my number 5. My number 4 band. It's a transition to the 90s where there's a lot of dance music, and the only band that managed to merge dance and rock together successfully, as well as having a lot of successful albums. One of my favourite albums of all time is Music for the Jilted Generation. A lot of Americans probably not heard of that album, but when I became a Christian, strangely, my Catholic friend, I still had friends that used to go out and all that. They used to play that album a lot in his decks, mix in with Activate, all that type of stuff, electronic music. But Prodigy, you probably know who I'm talking about by now. Prodigy is the band I'm talking about. That's my number 4. Strangely, my friend, his name was Phil the Fish. Phil was a Roman Catholic, and just for a laugh, he'd call people names. One of the names he used to call me, or used to call other people sometimes, was "Hey Jew." Yeah, I get called Jew. I'm not even Jewish. I wasn't even brought up Jewish. At that time, I had just accepted the Lord, so I was sort of part of. Wasn't really part of any churches either. But strangely, the lead singer of Prodigy was a Jew, and he idolised that band. He loved that band, and I said rather jokingly, wouldn't it be funny if Keith Flint was Jewish? And he just laughed in my face. He's like, Keith Flint Jewish? Are you kidding me? Check it out. Well, Keith Flint lived up until I think he was about 2018, 2019, and he was his parents actually fled the Second World War from Poland, and he was a Jew. He ended up marrying some Japanese woman, and I don't know if he got locked out of his house or what happened, but he ended up, bad things happened to him. He didn't have the Lord in his life. He wasn't saved. But what talented musicians. You got to give them that. As the rhythm, how they merged, rock and dance together is legendary, So the Prodigy are at my number 4. And again, let me try and get this right. My number 3 let me just think about this. Now, there's bands like Moby that were influential during the mid to late 90s. Who else? Various electronic type. Let me just think about this. Oh yeah, there was Adamski and all these other ones. But one that really stood out for me, and still does today, you find that good music really transitions decades. And I got to give a mention to the Thrill Seekers, who isn't actually just a man who is a music producer. And you can check him out. He's got I think he's got a YouTube page as well, what have you. But this guy basically invites a lot of singers to sing, and he's an electronic music artist. And this guy really kind of merges classical and electronic music together. I mean, it really gives it an atmosphere, really gives it very uplifting. And even though he's not a Christian, again, it is a very spiritual music. So this is where I'm going to transition into more Christian type of music. Although I don't have a lot of favourite Christian bands, there was one that the Lord led me to, which I'll explain about. But the Thrill Seekers started sort of early 90s, and he's still going today. I'm trying to think notable tracks that I could recommend, but basically just he has gone under different names as well. So he's got a great genre, very many albums, very many different types of sounds, but generally it's a very type of a trance, classical, electronic type music that he does, and it really ignites your imagination. It inspires, and the Thrill Seekers for me, very, very good music producer, and the singers that he introduces are very, very good, very, very good. So that's why I'm mentioning them. My number 2 would be a band that I just discovered about 20 years after I was born again. It was almost like a gift from the Lord, It's my 20th anniversary as a Christian, and the Lord just took me to start listening to Christafari music. You've been a missionary here in Africa for quite some time. A lot of people, there's a lot of praise and worship going on here. I produced an album here myself called Accra Experience. I've got to say, I'm quite pleased a lot of the tracks we produced, a lot of the music we produced, which you can check out. Some of it on this channel, some of it's on King Yahweh. Some of it are final cut tracks, and some of them are not. They still need a little bit of work. But we released an album over 10 years ago, me and George. And he's still been singing here in Accra. But Christafari is a band that goes back, I think, 25 years. And basically is a reggae band. And you can check out Christafari's channel, their history. I think they're part of they used to attend a church in California that was very pro-Christian rock. And a lot of people obviously don't agree with merging Christian music with rock music and that type of thing. I understand that. Now there's a satanic agenda about that can basically try to push the New Age spirituality onto Christians. And that's why there's not a lot of Christian bands I really recommend. That's the honest truth. But the Lord led me to Christafari, even though I know they're not I met the band as well. I think it was back in about 2017, 2018, I think it was, around about then. Very down-to-earth people, very, very down-to-earth, friendly type of people, and they just produce really good music. And really good feature singers as well that they have. I also like to mention Leland. Although it's sort of not a place in the top 5. One of my favourite tracks is Waymaker from Leland. I believe they're a really Spirit-led, Holy Spirit-led band. And when you listen to their music, there's no sort of conflict or reactions or anything like that. You can just sit down and listen to Leland, or even you can listen to Christafari and you can enjoy it. You just get enjoyment. You just get spiritual upliftment, which I think that, you know, good Christian music should have. And finally, my favorite band of all time is probably one of the longest going bands of all time. It's had a few head singers and producers, most notably Roger Waters is the one who sort of kept the band going from the start right until it is now. The most notable singer-songwriter just now is David Gilmour, who is now a solo artist. But you know what I'm talking about, Pink Floyd. Very, very out there. They did dabble with a lot of drugs back in the 60s and 70s. But Roger Waters holds that he didn't do drugs himself. I don't know if anybody believes that, but I find their music sort of a messianic mix of spirituality. I think there's some type of messianic influence in the band somewhere. I'm not sure if David Gilmour is a Christian as such, but he's quite a principled man. You can sort of tell that he's sort of quite well educated and what have you. I'm not really sure if he's a Christian, but certainly the things they sing about are easy listening, easy going type of music. Not like the Eagles. I mean, the Eagles are a very satanic band. You know, when you listen to them, there is a darkness that comes over when you listen to like the Eagles, and it's a lot of great American bands, obviously. For some reason, I don't know why, but there's no Afro-American bands on this list. But certainly, I'm here in Africa. There's a lot of what's called high life music. I do enjoy African music a lot, but there's not big enough lasting bands like the ones I've mentioned that have had an influence on me right through my life. So that's maybe why I'm not mentioning any, but apologise for that. Don't know why that is. But yeah, Pink Floyd, they're even taking to now different cultures, different people from around the world listening to their music and really getting influenced. And they really do have a very, very calming effect on the soul when you listen to them. And as I said, there's no conflict, there's no type of darkness, I would say, except some of their early albums that they did a lot of drugs and what have you. Can't really listen to them and make, what would you say, perfect sense out of them. Might get a little bit confused, but spiritually I think that they're okay. There's a big question mark about the lead singer being so much on drugs and alcohol, I think it was at the time, that he couldn't actually be a productive member of the band. And I think Roger Waters and a few other ones basically sacked him from the band. A lot of other artists and musicians really didn't like that, really were quite disgusted by that. But if you think about it, if you're going on tour and you're sort of lead singer, your head lead guitarist and singer just isn't performing, he's standing there just playing a chord and he's forgetting the words. Hey, what do you do? If you're playing before a live audience, you got to be switched on. You got to be able to perform. So that's just life, I would say. But the guy really took it hard, and a lot of fellow musicians and artists kind of resented Roger Waters for that. But I just think it's part of life. I think the guy maybe had a chance to go and dry out, get himself right, go to rehab, but he didn't do that. So what can you say? Yeah, so Pink Floyd for me are my favourite all-time band. I hope that you have discovered a few maybe talents on this list that you can check out. Otherwise, leave your favourite artists below. And of course, another mention, worth a mention is Aviad Cohen. He produced a lot of music there back about 10 years ago for the Lord, but he ended up the Lord taking him home. He was going through a very, very rough time about being accepted in Christian circles. You know, join the club. But anyhow, hope this has been helpful to you all out there, and shalom in Yeshua's name.